welcome back to New Meta Podcast, episode 186. We've been gone for a little while, which isn't too unusual these days, unfortunately. But, you know, summer comes. Glastonbury came for Marco, among other things. I actually haven't spoken to you at all since that. How was that?
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you done one before?
No, first one. So I got tickets in, I think it was November 2019
Wow.
for the 2020. And then COVID cancelled, and then 21, they couldn't quite make it happen, so another cancel. So long overdue.
Yeah.
So that's why maybe it feels like I've been before, but yeah, absolutely incredible. I'd be super keen to go again. I mean, the lineup this year apparently is like really bad. Had the absolute best time ever. So if this is the worst it gets, I'm like, fucking hell, let's go again.
Nice. You had good weather this time. That's what I'm hearing a lot of, like, oh, no mud.
Yeah, no mud at all. It would be challenging if it's kind of mass rain and mass mud. Whereas, yeah, this was really good sunny Wednesday, decent Thursday, and then just like overcast weekend. So good, fine. No mud turmoil, which helps. But yeah, just sick vibes.
Ah, good stuff. Adam, how have you been? Happy 4th of July.
Oh yeah, thanks. Happy America Day.
Yeah, significant day for all of us.
Yeah.
It's my and Marco's mum's birthday on the same day, and it's your country's birthday, so you know everyone's winning.
Both of your moms are born on the same day?
The sisters, yeah. Same day birthday.
What in the world? Was that your grandparents get busy in November? Is that November or October?
It's not.
Haven't done the maths, to be honest.
Yeah.
How's life? How's the dotes?
Dotes? I haven't been playing very much. Looks like my last match was 9 days ago, so looks like we're going to require Marco to carry.
What about me? You know, I can carry as well.
Get plus 60
get some weight on the back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm just along for the ride.
Nice. Very cool, very cool. It's also the day after Gettysburg, so I'm just flexing my American history knowledge here. But, you know, very significant. 4th of July. Marco, how's your Dota been? How's your week in Dota been? Can just find some games or whatever you want.
So, I mean, we've not recorded for a couple of weeks, so my ranked ventures over the last few weeks, too easy. It's too easy. I'm flying. Game's too easy. Might switch the league. I think I'm 11-6 as of today, so plus 5 net wins. Flying up the MMR. Not even that far off peak territory. Like another 4 or 5 off peak, like Liverpool peak MMR.
Oh wow! What do you mean? Another 45?
Like net 4 or 5.
Oh, net 4 or 5 wins. I see.
Yeah. So Jakiro 6-1, and then what's been a pretty funny winner of the last 24 hours. I wanted to play Dawnbreaker 3, so I messaged in Discord about it. I've been seeing it in pros. Oh, DBE's like top tier offlaner, super strong, yeah. So I was like, alright, fuck this POS 5. I've been playing it a lot of it. Jakiro's a free win. Let's play a core. I'll go POS 3. I've played 4 POS 3s every time DB's banned. And so, what do? Mars was banned a couple times, probably for the best. Shit, what do? Slap out the Legion Commander, unlosable, 3-1 on the LC. Granted, one of them's kind of a shit show of a game, I might mention. 2 of the wins were stomp, 23 minutes, both of them. Just, you can win games in the offlane. I had a loss today where the offlane Bala got Echo Blink at about 15-16 and just snowballed, solo carried. You can win games on offlane. But yeah, did the LC, that's been quite like an LC. I think pretty fun.
It's actually outrageous. You're winning rank games on LC. I
I
popped onto your profile, and because my profile is in Chinese, which by the way I'm changing, but I'll mention that when I get to my games. But I can't tell what unranked is versus ranked. I mean, so I'm looking at these games. It's like he's either won 3 games on LC in ranked, or he's won like Lesh and PA in ranked. I don't know what's more now. I mean, a Lesh win in ranked would be a new era.
That would be mental, yeah.
Yeah, the LC's coming out. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of fun. Hero, and then Jakiro is good. I don't know. Just
what do? You just get armlet, blink, BKB or something
on LC.
Yeah.
No, so what I was doing first was like one or 2 braces, phase, blink, and then BKB. But I mean, if in 2 of the games, the game was over at 20, just kind of crushing the laning phase 10 minutes with significant net worth and farm, blink and just snowball, map close, and I don't know, like good quality DotA 23-minute thrones. And then in my other couple LCs, I've struggled a bit more. Yeah, like the last win I had, we had an anti-mage. I'll just talk about this last game as one of my tangible games. So, anti-mage, you won't believe the timings, just absolute embarrassment of an anti-mage game. It was kind of funny, the guy was kind of humble about it. 26 minutes, he's got Battle Fury Manta. 26 minutes, like... I'm going to get up my last anti-mage win and just look at my timings. Alright, my last anti-mage win, I've got Manta Battle Fury at 20, and then I got Scardy at 26. The guy's just finished the Manta at 26. He was 1-8 at about 26 minutes. 1-8. He had the most deaths on the team. Everyone's just like...
He's second highest net worth. That's in my bracket. That's world class anti-mage.
I mean, what, the end of the game or 25 minutes?
25.
Well, okay.
I wanted Marco to pull up his last win, and it'd be like 27-minute battle period.
I mean, we all knew this was bad, but thankfully we had a pretty calm PMA team. But we were like, mate, can you farm in a safe place where Skywrath Mage doesn't kill you? He just refused. So it was so weird. He like refused to not farm safe and then would die. And then there was this... After we had this bit of a convo, we were like, yeah, just farm safely. He then went and farmed the enemy woods, and like none of us are even... He's the most far in the team. We're like, why are you there? What's going on? He's 1-8. So in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm not having the greatest game. Game's tough. Enemy mid-sky is popping. I don't think this is going to work. But... we all held kind of a mental comeback. We had this Zeus, Legion, Grimstroke. It's hard for them to push high ground. We held, and eventually Anti-Mage did come out and start popping, and it got a mental win. But credit to the guy, did come back, pull it through, take the win, fine. But nice. Yeah, but very much roller coaster. Some good games. Always feels good to win.
I wonder what the net win loss is to get the number back. On your account.
Man, fucking getting a number these days is seriously brutal. Like, I used to be... there's a time when... So I believe it's 6.4 to get a number. And, I mean, that's higher than I've ever got. I got 6.3 at peak. So my peak, I was like low 2k rank. Whereas now, to get low 2k rank, I don't know.
Like 7 something. Or maybe 7.
Maybe not 7, but high like 6 or something plus, so it's actually mental. But yeah, I was kind of playing decently and winning, so happy. I have another game I could talk about which isn't ranked and which isn't to do with the actual game but to do with meta, but I can maybe come back to that as another topic after other games.
Alright. I mean, Adam, do you have anything to report? Your last game was 9 days ago, but I feel like our last pod was before that. I don't know if you have anything to withdraw from the deepest memories.
There's one safe lane Weaver win.
Wow.
Surrounded by 5 reds. So
nice.
Weaver was cool.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod, Nick, played that in that game randomly. So
whoa, that's a spotted friend of the pod Nick appearance.
Got the Weaver Witch Doctor lane.
Nice. I actually I played with I played a game with Nick, friend of the pod Nick, and some of his friends that are like very low MMR wise, and it's maybe the lowest average game that I've played in since I was like very brand new to the game, and it was single draft, and my hero choices were like Meepo. So I always get Meepo in single draft. I literally always get me, and I always get it in all random as well. I honestly feel like I get Meepo so often in these modes. And my other options were like Medusa and something else really boring. It was Dusa, Meepo, or something that I really just didn't want to play. I can't remember what it was, like Bane or something. But I probably should have just done Bane mid. But anyway, so I'm like, I kind of fancy a Meepo. I haven't done it for months. But it just goes exactly how you'd expect it. And it's just like the most boring thing,
Yes,
most boring,
way
game
too boring
of all time. Yeah, it's so boring, and also just the crush is like, yeah, it was unreal. It's one of those games on Meepo where your level is like the minute. So I'm like level 20. I'm like level 21 at like 22 minutes or something. Just not fun. But then beyond that, very green. I've played my last 3 ranked games have all been wins. 2 Necros and 1 Lena. And I really felt like I earned them today. So I played 2 ranked games today. I don't know, I'll maybe do the Lena very briefly, but it was one of those games where I felt like I really got the team over the hump. I'm playing with an Ancient Apparition POS 5. So my POS 5 Ancient Apparition is... Think about this for a POS 5. This will blow your mind. This is a position 5, and this is 21 minutes into the game. 21 minutes. Think about how long that is. That's like a longer than Marco's LC game. My AA has 0 kill involvement.
What?
He's 0-5-0.
Oof. How many kills did your team have?
At 20 minutes. Is there a way of finding that out? I can't remember, but
what does the mid have?
Can't hit his
the mid. What do I have? I'm 8-1-0. So I have 8. And there's obviously other kills happening in other lanes. Like my Pango has 8 kill involvement. My Hoodwink has 8 kill involvement. My Deucer has 2 kill involvement. And my AA has 0 kill involvement at 20 minutes. So in my AA, it is just classic POS 1 AA. It's literally... It's sort of POS 1 AA, but he's going like... It's not even good. Like, at 20 minutes, he's got 0 kill involvement. He's 0-5-0. And he's got Glimmer Cape Tranks. So it's like... I don't understand, like, what... I don't know what's going on.
Just
and
passive golding.
Yeah. And AA is such a critical hero to get involved in ganks because of Ice Blast. You need Ice Blast to finish heroes off, especially when you... Because I'm fighting against, like, an SF in particular and a PA that are very elusive. So if you don't burst them, the speed of an SF to run away... And also, obviously, the blink strike of a PA. And we're against a Magnus that can skewer away, so it's like so critical. So I honestly felt like I solo carried this game to the point where my Deucer took over. And to be fair to Deucer, the Deucer was AFK, complete AFK, but then when the Deucer was strong enough, did like carry the game, did put the rest of... And put me on the back because I made a couple of really dumb mistakes like in the later game. So that was quite a fun game. I felt like that was a bit of a stolen game because we were against an Enigma who had like BKB Refresher and a Magnus with RP, and like this SF was absolutely massive. You had Satanic, Daedalus, MKB, Manta, BKB, so it's just like mega 3-shotting heroes. So it felt like we earned the win there. Pango did play well. Then the other game was a Necro, which was... Necro... It's just free win. Said it before, say it again.
From the mid.
Yeah, from mid. I don't really have a lot to say other than Necro's a good hero, you know. They try and go on you mid against Marcy, you know. They'll try and go on you mid with Marcy, or they'll try and go on you with Earthshaker and just the turn potential. And then you've got this Reaper Scythe spell is absolutely unbelievable. So it doesn't matter how far behind you are. or how AFK your team is, because of the nature of Reaper Scythe, all you need is like 1 or 2 spells from one hero. So we get a really nice turnaround, really big kill when the Earthshaker, the Pos 3 Earthshaker on the other team who's popping off, tries to go on me bot, a CM TPs in and just like uses Frostbite and Q, and I just turn with the big Reapers and end his like 5x streak, and then also we get a massive gank on the enemy Faceless Void where... Oh no, is it the enemy Voker? I think it was the enemy Voker where all I need is my Centaur to blink stun and like use double edge and he'll die, because all I need to do is Reaper Scythe, Q and my shard. And it's such the utility of the spell, it's just a broken spell, honestly. The spell is absolutely nuts. So that was a nice win on Necro. I had a Slark that came back from being like 0-4 in the lane, an absolutely appalling lane, 0-4, to then being like 8-4 at the end of the game and really turning it around. But Slark's that kind of hero, very snowbally. So when you're playing with Centaur, Blink Stun, and a Necro that's barreling lane, Slark's pretty nice for that situation, because all you need is a little bit of momentum and he can really like come in and out of fights well and snowball really nicely. Slark can't catch up with farm, but he can catch up with lots of skirmishing if they're going well, and that's kind of like what happened. So anyway, 30%, Divine 2 30%.
Oh, very big.
Very big. A percentage.
I know. I actually don't know what my peak is, but oh my goodness, tell you what, pretty close. How many net wins is this? If I have 4 net wins, then I've made it to 5k with 4 net wins.
Would that be a first time?
That would be a first, yeah.
That'd be a first. No way.
Oh, that's legitimacy.
So I think I've been 4, 9, 10, which is what I'll be if I win one game. So if I win one game, I'll be at peak.
Wow. That's
Why did you
exciting.
say that?
Yeah,
guaranteed mega loss streak. I forgot about that. The old curse. Never talk about how well things are going. But yeah, exciting if the curse doesn't strike, which I'm sure it will.
It's not really a game, it's kind of a meta discussion. It does kind of link to your topic of pro games, pub games. I think there's an interesting one about 5-man versus 3 and a 2 party games. Like, I feel like the 5-man floor adds a lot of value, even if everyone's shit, compared to disjointed good players. One game I played, what do I... So, the tangential comment, to kick it off, which is somewhat contrived, but bear with me. My ethos of playing unranked is driven by Wigan Athletic. What does that mean? Okay, it means when Wigan Athletic got relegated, right, Roberto Martinez instilled the philosophy of playing football like your Barcelona, but with a lot of shit players. Alright. So this is like, everyone knows Barcelona, world, amazing footballers. We tried to do what Barcelona did with just kind of Archons, right?
Right.
And we got relegated, but we won the FA Cup. But we got relegated. So we played a way of football, which one might say gave us lower chance of staying in the Premier League versus had we done a Burnley, Lumpet kind of play style.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like I have a bit of that ethos in unranked sometimes. So I had this Dawnbreaker match. So one factor is, that doesn't help, is I've played 4 ranked games of good quality. It's pretty 6k MMR Dota before. There's four of them, and then I jump into an unranked in a 3 stack. So we got some 2 randoms. It's a pretty low average game. So my mind's not quite in the right place for this game quality. But in the game, so I'm Dawnbreaker mid, stomp it, 20 minutes, stomp it. We're winning 10k gold XP at 20. We've got a Deucer that's AFK farmed for 20 minutes. Divine 5 player, ooh, aren't they great at Dota? His fucking AFK farm thinks they're good. Oh, fuck, I could not abuse this person more. 20 minutes, the game's won, okay? We've got a Deucer that's like level 20, mega farm, mega fat. Albeit, at 20 minutes, they've still yet to leave our side of the map. They've not yet hit an objective like a tower or a Rosh or the enemy ancients. So, okay, they've not... Okay, this is what they're missing. So at 20 minutes, I'm like, let's just go and win. Let's go. Let's do stuff. Let's end the game. Centaur pos through with a blink. Deuce's fat. And the people just wouldn't budge. So what I started to do was like, just sit really deep in the enemy's lane and be like, this is where we should be. We are so strong. Let's like win the game now, guys. Let's hit a tower. Let's force a team fight. Let's play Dota. But no one would do it. Like the Centaur would be hitting Ancients. Deuce would be in our jungle. But in my head, I was like, I don't want to play your way of playing Dota like an imbecile. I want to play correctly.
You want to play total football.
Yeah, I want to play total football. Like we're so far ahead at 20 minutes. We've got all the items, all the XP. Let's just like, why do people not want to kill heroes? I thought people wanted to kill heroes too much so that they missed out the macro. And then when I've got this team because I'm in the 2, so that makes it harder to influence the game. And now when we're like so far ahead gold XP, no one wants to kill heroes. So I end up just kind of not running down lanes, but sitting in a lane very aggressively, being like, I should have the whole team with me here. They're gonna come for me. We want to take a fight. We will win a fight. Like, play Dota. Mm-hmm. Did that quite a few times. Eventually, we do lose. So there's one school of thought which will say I threw the game. There's another school of thought which would say I played total football.
You played beautiful Dota.
And it's just like my team didn't follow the conductor orchestra with me. Yeah, so Ron Mexico was kind of hit by that game. I did smash it for 20 minutes. I smashed it 20 minutes. It was sick, yeah. Dawnbreaker, cool, fun, strong. The next 20 minutes was a kind of slow, painful loss. But yeah, I'm flaming a pos 3 Centaur for hitting creeps and not blinking, stunning heroes. I'm flaming the pos 1 Medusa, who's meant to have a brain cell and doesn't leave outside the map. Just horrendous. Horrendous Dota. I couldn't fathom it. So yeah. Why do I say all that? So the enemy team had a 5 stack, so they had this good coordination value of they're all like on the same page, and so could that added a lot of value that they coordinated as a 5, even though they're all shit.
Yeah, they're either playing Burnley or they're playing Wigan. They're all going to be on the same page regardless of which way they go.
Yeah, whereas we had this weirdly detached 3 stack that just did not want to play Dota, and it made me lose my mind. Yeah, so a bit of a philosophical question. Should you play Dota for total football, or should you play to win?
What if you're in a 5 stack and you play total football while the rest of your team wants to play turtle football?
I know in a 5 stack I can have more influence than a 2 stack, and with enough where there's a will, there's a way, and eventually I feel like people would try and play total football. Mm-hmm. But you're right. What if they don't? Am I griefing my party members by not playing the whatever they're playing, custom game? I'm not sure, Adam.
Difficult one. Sounds like a conundrum.
I
feel like it's.
Yeah. It's a difficult one. I am scraping a little bit. I was a little bit tilted, and yeah, I shouldn't have done. I should have bowed down to my team a little bit, but I hope you see my my argument.
Yeah, it and microcosms of that decision making happen every game, where it's when you think, even in ranked games where you're all the same skill, you think that your team's doing something wrong, and do you press the issue or do you go with them? I think usually the answer is, or at least I feel like the answer is, you go with your strongest hero. And that's sort of my way of approaching it in ranked when people are the same skill. It's obviously different if I'm playing way above average, the average of the game, and I feel like your calls should be respected because you have a better understanding of the game. But when you're playing in a ranked game or a game with all similar MMRs, I feel like just play around your strongest hero and what they want to do, which is depressing sometimes when you're with a Deucer or a Wraith King that wants to be AFK. but if the game's gone late enough that your most important hero is now your carry, the critical hero is your carry, as opposed to like mid-game, early mid-game, when maybe like your 3 is your critical hero in terms of making stuff happen, then you just sort of do that. That's an interesting one for the mid and the POS 3 specifically, because I feel like that's not something you ever have to deal with on carry or on support. I feel like when you're playing support, you're always going with someone else, even if it's just the other support. And when you're playing carry, you're always basically only thinking about your own game. And then when you play mid and when you play 3, there's a point in the game at which you have to transition from, first of all, putting yourself first for farm and stuff like that, then also calculating to what extent you need to make stuff happen on behalf of your carry, and then also calculating at what point you actually now need to make stuff happen with your carry, like i.e. when you're going to start playing with your carry. So, interesting one. Or you just, or you do a Marco and you just, play Dawnbreaker and fly down lanes.
It was nigh on comical how aggressive I was. Because in party, if I dive a fountain, I've got people following me. Or if I go up a tier 3, I dive a tier 3 as a punch when the tier 2's alive. That's not an unrealistic play. I know I've got team running to back me up. Yeah. So it's like, in this game, as a 2 stack, so I'm fucked. But I'm doing the similar thing of like I'm deep in a tier 2, bringing the enemy to me, like doing expecting the cavalry, and I got fucking just snoozy idiotic 3 stack just griefing me. I mean, an interesting one I had in a ranked game, and it shows just at any level you can have weirdly distorted gameplay, no matter how supposedly good the players are. It was almost comical how disjointed the game was. It's like 30 minutes, kind of right in the mid game where fights and fight execution is so important. Literally, enemy like near the dire safe lane tier 1 in the woods in that area. There's a 2v2 skirmish with like my POS 1 and like a POS 4. Then on the opposite corner of the map, there's a 2v2 skirmish with like me, not maybe, is it me? The other core, like the mid and another hero on our team, 2v2. And then there was either me or another hero like in the very middle of the map, like moving, kind of pulled in both directions. But it was honestly comical. Like, how can these caliber people in this most pivotal team fight time of game, literally opposite corners of the maps with these like 2v2 skirmishes going on? And it was just like, why are we not together? Like, this is on another level of disjointed. Oh my god. So yeah, team coordination.
Yeah. The topic of the day, or sort of quasi topic of the day, was going to be talking about the difference between pro games and pub games and what that means for our assumptions. It's sort of based off what I think this false idea of people really over analysing pro games and overestimating their relevance to their pubs. And so I wanted to maybe talk about that a little bit more. There are obviously some very basic ones. Skill. Players aren't going to be as good at laning. Players are going to overextend more, miscalculate goes. But also other things like coordination. So even in pro games, the way a pro player is going to play a pub is going to be very different to when they play their pro games, because they know the team's going to be together less. They're going to be more farm orientated because of that. Heroes are going to have more space, more time, and stuff like that. Also, hero picks as well, like what hero picks come out of that. Because the heroes that work very well in the pro meta are going to do so because of this effectively completely different game that they're playing, when they have crazy coordination drafts, right, around certain concepts, and then the ability to coordinate to restrict space, restrict time, restrict farm, play with tempo, and execute much more cleanly in team fights. So it's kind of an interesting thing to dive into. I mean, I don't know if either of you have any initial thoughts on like what jumps out onto you when you compare pro games to pub games.
A first thought I have, so yeah, for sure, macro strategy is impossible to translate. It's too high level, strategic, coordinated. But even on a more micro level, so not enough of a micro level, which is something I would find a value and think is true to be value of everyone. But I feel like sometimes people would look at pro and they'll do stuff, often kind of these support quirky players or the plays they'll make, like, oh, I need to remember to rotate on mid with my catapult timing, or I'm going to do this wrap around with my hero. And that takeaway often it's not microscopic enough. It's irrelevant to you because it's that play, what you've taken away was in the context of this super high level game where everyone is super high level and on the same page. So it's like if you're this 10k player, or maybe not 10, say you're a 6k player playing in a 2k pub, how you play in that game is very different to how you play in a ranked game. So just because some pro has done some play doesn't mean that you could carbon copy paste it into your game, because not everyone else is like that good and on the page and understands the movement and the play that you're doing. And I feel like high level complicated things like that often get taken away from how pros play or how teams play. And actually, yeah, like you say, it's not relevant to your PUD because it's presumed that everyone else is on the same page and really high level and smart. What I think is actually useful to take away is, as microscopic as you can be, where do they right click on the map? When do they use that spell? How do they last hit? How do they win the lane? Where do they farm? What items do they build? Like real microscopic stuff like that, I think is useful and tangible. But then when you start getting a bit more like strategic or smart, it's like, I don't think that copy paste works.
Yeah, and also things like when do they get involved more? Because the power spikes of heroes are going to be similar. But when I say that, I don't mean like, oh wow, he rotated mid for a skirmish at like 8 minutes on his carry. I mean more the overall macro change of the approach to be like aggressive versus not. It's usually around similar-ish timings. It's just it's just that you won't be able to. They won't be as absolute as they are in pro games. It's not like in pro games you might see some AUK get a BKB or something, or any carry hero. Obviously way quicker because that's always going to be the way in pro games, and also sooner in the build order. And suddenly
they know
it's like,
when they're strong and they know when to step on the throat. Yeah,
but you can at least draw some things from that. Like, I mean, even if it's just BKB is a strong item, and that's like the biggest spike that I'll be able to generate throughout the game is with my BKB. I feel like people know that anyway, but when I watch carry games, it's underlined more.
What level of coordination compared to a pro game can you expect in a pub game? And is it above 10%?
It's pretty depressing, isn't it? To be fair, some games you can have high coordination.
I don't mean like
good
hitting
fortune.
your spells.
Yeah, but you mean like movement and
macro map plays. Yeah. Knowing what your team is trying to do in the game.
I feel like for me, I have that when it's really a stompy game. So like these LC wins, 23-minute thrones. It's easier to have that coordination and flow when you're stomping. It's a much different ball game when it's a close game and it's 30, 40 minutes and you need that coordination. So sometimes, it's harder to get it. It's easier to get it when it's a stomp. Obviously, there are some games that are 0%. I have had some games where it's like, well, this is flow, sick, smash, 80% coordination. But on average, you're probably struggling.
It's not even, it's just like your teammates will just TP out the lane. And then you never have a rotation follow-up. It's just like even that level of coordination. Can't even expect that.
Yeah, and also from Marco's example, I agree that you definitely have games where your team are coordinating, quote unquote. It's just the extent of the coordination and its effectiveness that's obviously way diminished. So I think it's not uncommon to have ranked games or unranked games where you've, say, got 4 heroes that are relatively coordinated. I think throughout the mid game, your pos 1 to 4, and maybe your carry does whatever they want. In pro games, for a start, the carry's like involved in that decision making in the sense that they will turn up for stuff if necessary. That's like never to be expected in ranked games. And then also, your four heroes might coordinate, but they'll just do it in such a clumsy way that it's almost like not even worth coordinating. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's getting that balance right, because if it gets to 15 minutes and 4 of your heroes just stick together like glue and run into the enemy map without any idea of where enemy heroes will be, what heroes will be where, whether or not the enemy see them on wards, then it's going to be a disaster. So it's like, it's almost, sometimes you don't even want the level of coordination that you might get in a pub. Sometimes it's better to just AFK farm because it's going to be executed so clumsily.
Yeah, I definitely agree to that point. And I know we've had party games as well where we've seen forced coordination simply be more of a cost than a benefit. And to take it to a ranked, I'm sure in ranked games that at some average level would definitely be the case as well. Like, oh, let's do this coordinated smoke play, and you end up fucking around for 2 minutes and not actually achieving anything. So yeah, that would be kind of a loss rather than a gain. Another point about the coordination, I think it's interesting how at an optimal level you do need a focal point or a leader leading. And I think in the pubs the issue is that when you get in the mid game, these team plays or coordination plays, like, oh, what tower are we going to go after? Do we go top or bottom? Or do we go woods here or hit woods there? Or do we not do anything? These decisions, for it to be coordinated, someone has to make a decision that everyone then follows. And someone might make it verbally, someone might do it with the hero movement. But with these pubs, when it's ranked all non-party, it's like so easy just for one other person to think of a different idea, or to be like, I want to go bottom, not top, or I want to farm, and not. All it takes is one person to not be part of it. Like, you're ignoring the carry, but let's say any of the other positions, if they want to do something else, it breaks down the team coordination.
Yeah,
and so it's so easy for it to fail.
Yeah. Also, the nature of coordination in pubs is different, because in pro games, even when teams are split up and farming and not playing together, that is a coordinated decision that they've made.
Yeah,
right.
Whereas,
that's not just the natural state of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas in pubs, it's like it's a tap. It's like it's either on or it's off. You're either coordinating and like trying to do something, or it's completely disjointed and there's nothing. So it's kind of interesting. It never is on that stable of a strategic foundation, whether or not your team's doing something or not.
But it's funny because that when we say coordination, often I feel a lot of that is second nature, and it's almost unintended, and it's simply your game sense, intuition leads you and your allies to do something together. Do you know what I mean? Like, just from game sense, both heroes are moving in this direction to a side lane and happen to find a kill or whatever it may be. So it's not always some complex orchestrated plan. And it's simply just how good's that player? How good's the game sense? What's then interesting though is when there are these moments of more conscious coordination, right? We need to consciously make a decision. Right, we've achieved this map control, we've just got a gank, let's say. What do we do now as a unit to press our advantage the most? And to me, the most common chasm of a decision is Rover Rosh. And for me, particularly when I've been playing support, there are so many times, even in my ranked games, where I'm saying, and very pure strong belief, the correct best play, the best course of action, we fucking take a Rosh right now. And not in a risky, like, oh, this is a knife edge, but like, we've just killed 3 heroes. This is obvious. Like, everyone would think this is obvious, but yet people just don't listen to those conscious macro calls. And I don't know, it's weird because to me that says you're bad, but they're obviously not bad. We're all in the same ranked game. Do they just hear a call and not want to do it? I on another day, would they do it? Probably. On that day today, they're just like loving the creep hitting too much. Like, who knows what the reason is, but I do feel like the Rosh calls I get most frustrated with in terms of like failed coordination. It's not even coordination, is it? It's like, that's just decision making.
I love it when say you take a team fight, the other team has like 40 seconds left on their respawn timers. Like, let's do Roche. And it's like, I'll hit 2 more camps.
Yeah.
Then I'll show up with 8 seconds left on the respawn timers, and that is when we'll take this Roche.
Oh.
There's so much, like, this isn't even a coordination thing. There's so much mental, emotional, human psychology involved in Dota. Like, the Roche thing's a classic, where if one of the cores is halfway through farming a camp, there's no, even rationally they know it's irrelevant to finish the camp, but like, there's something about it emotionally,
they can't pull themselves away.
You have to finish the camp. You've got to kill those last 2 mud golems, even though it's literally, rationally it's like actually a negative impact thing to do, but you still have to do it. It's so funny, stuff like that. Another one is backing, like retreating or leaving heroes to die, and some casters always call it like save a buddy syndrome.
Yes.
You have it in pubs all the time when someone dies and like the team is, you need to get out, but like you weirdly have to stick around in case there's a fight, even though you consciously don't want to fight and you all have decided you don't want to fight, so you all need to get out. I feel like the better players, this isn't a pub versus pro thing, this is just a higher skill versus lower skill thing. I feel like the better the player, the more confident and like fully they get behind their decisions. Like, if they're getting out, they're just fully getting out. They're not like lingering and then ending up feeding or something like that.
Then I agree, and then there's this issue that brings of, well, because they become more self-assured and confident, and then it means if they have an opposing opinion or decision than someone else, I think we should move here rather than here. It's like, it feels like even less likelihood that someone backs down and you do it together.
Yeah.
Which is strange.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's almost like for different reasons, as you go through 0 to 10k, there's always this kind of like magnetic force of coordination will never be perfect, be it your 0k MMR and everyone's just clueless, or be it your 8k MMR and you've got opposing opinions because you're so confident in your own skill, like, be it you're some other trench and everyone's just toxic and will actively do what your team wants to, like, actively do the opposite of your team. Whatever the reason is, there's always some reason for coordination difficulties.
Yeah. It's a funny one. I mean, let's move on a bit to like takeaways for pub games. And part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because me and Marco are such big Jakiro believers.
Yeah.
Because Jakiro...
I want a Jakiro app, just put it out there, but go on, yeah.
I'd happily do a Jakiro app. You know how I feel about Jakiro. He's my POS 5 as well. He's my token grinder that also should be the hero that I just play all the time anyway, because I feel like my Jakiro win rate in ranked is also like unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's funny because the hero's not picked very much in pro games. It's not that popular, and yet in pubs it crushes. And you see that often. Wraith King's another classic example. And that's aside from your gimmicky heroes like your Lycans, which, by the way, are also picked in pubs, in pros, like a decent amount. What is it about? I mean, Jakiro is almost we should probably do our own special episode on Jakiro. But in terms of like the game trends, you have more space. you have more time, enemy team are less coordinated. Does that just translate quite cleanly into you should pick less tempo heroes? Or do you think... go on, Adam, what do you think?
Oh, I just think...
You still can?
You can still out-tempo the other team. Because they're also less coordinated, so you can also just mop up kills and snowball an advantage that way. I mean, you could use the space to be, like you said, play slower, greedier. Or the opposite end, you can use the space and the uncoordination to pick apart supports that are out of position, and then all of a sudden you're like 8-0. Lena balling out of control or something.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting conundrum. I think pros often give a false sense that you can farm your way to victory in pubs all the time, because in the same way that if one of us went and played a pub game that was 2-3k average lower than our MMR, we could farm our way to victory probably on a deucer, snooze out a deucer. And so when pros go from their pro games to pub games, it probably feels similar. But does that necessarily transfer to for us being like, oh well, the best way to climb is always on a hard carry that scales to the late game? I'm not sure. I feel like there's a bit of truth in that. I feel like if you were going to just pick a bona fide way to climb MMR, you probably would choose to just get very good at some late game hero. But at the same time, then that also makes me sort of shudder at the thought of putting games of Dota in the hands of my teammates to get me to a point where I can carry. Even with this additional space, I'm still not so sure. Do you have an opinion on that, Marco? On the sort of late game orientation because there's less coordination, or do you think that's actually not the case and that everyone's not uncoordinated, so the game can still be the tempo can be just as justified because the enemies are also bad or whatever?
I think this point of coordination only kicks in 25-minute onward. So I feel like it's a factor that shouldn't be taken or can't be taken into consideration if you're trying to optimize your hero choice, because you've got 25 minutes of a game to consider. So, okay, it's uncoordinated, fine, but to me, I think that's only relevant 25 minutes onwards. So I don't think you should be basing this like hero choice decision or even playstyle decision on something that's only relevant 25 minutes onwards, because obviously we've got the first 25 to consider.
What do you mean that? But there's plenty of uncoordination in the first 25 minutes, surely. My AA had 0 kill involvement at 22 minutes. When I think of uncoordination, I'm just thinking of like, what's going on? Like,
so to me, that uncoordination, what's going on in the first 25 minutes, to me, it's just how good are the players in the game? Right. How good are they? And then it is only really when you get more macro, bigger team fights, bigger objectives, 25 minutes onwards, where true coordination reveals itself. And I know obviously like a pro team has coordination from minute 0 to 25 in a way that a pub wouldn't. But even though a pub team doesn't have pro team level coordination 0 to 25, I feel like the game is naturally so chaotic nonetheless that it doesn't matter for you in your pub.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So it's more. So you can just as well justify a hero that's focused on the first 25 minutes
as a hero that's like a pure late game. Just because when you do get to 25 plus, it's uncoordinated and you can farm it out and win. Mm-hmm. You're still ignoring the fact that there's 25 minutes of chaotic, uncoordinated, crazy Dota gonna be played in the first 25. Because to your point about the 0 involvement AA, yeah, that happens, sadly. but you also will have games where there is kind of headless chickens that don't hit creeps and just run at heroes, even if it's the wrong thing to do, because they're bad. Do you know what I mean? So you have every kind of spectrum possible in that first 25 minutes. And then it's only in the 25 minutes plus that okay, there's going to be a lack of coordination, and we know there's going to be macro mistakes, which certain heroes might do better against.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting one. One thing that I do think is true in terms of what lack of coordination means for our hero picks in pubs is that I do think heroes that punish mistakes and punish lack of coordination are more valuable. So this is the classic thing where I think that snipers just free win in my MMR.
For the sniper player or the other team?
The sniper player. Because teams will... I mean, it's exaggerated, and it depends on what the enemy team is. All it would take is certain heroes that are naturally good against sniper. So this is just like a general rule that sniper is a punishing hero, in the sense that if you overextend versus a sniper's team, you can find yourself in really crushingly lost fights. And sniper naturally baits that into occurrence because of having really strong high ground defense. So the number of games that sniper wins that he shouldn't, I think is abnormally high. Now perhaps I'm getting baited because sniper's lack of utility maybe means that he finds himself in high ground defense more than other heroes. But and then Necro as well is another one I'd mention. Teams coordinate badly and they miscalculate, which is a skill thing. So in a pro game, Necro's much easier to kill because teams bring what they need and they itemize effectively and they do all these things that you could put under the banner of coordination. But in pub games, they don't. And a hero like Necro, where you're going to instantly heal full with a W wand and you can turn with Reapers, means that the hero, I think, is always going to be better in pubs than in pros. And I think Sniper, likewise, will always be better in pubs than in pros. I'm trying to think of what other heroes would fall under that banner.
I think a classic is Arc Warden, because I think the hero is very weak in the first 15. I mean, we've all been there when we lose the lane 1v1 because it's a joke, but defensively it is very weak, and if you get on top of it, shut it down, it takes time to get online, etc. I've been in ranked games where we've crushed arcs, feels great. I don't feel like we see it in pros for that exact reason, that it will get crushed, it will get out-tempoed, it won't be able to stand up to aggression when you've got heroes running at it. In a pub, like you say, if you don't have that like mindset, that gameplay, and we kind of go to 25 without the throne exploding thereafter, this hero's an absolute menace, and yeah, you go late game, you just school everyone and la-di-da. So I feel like Ark's one classic in that sense.
Yeah, I actually think Wraith King is another classic. Like Reincarnation by definition is just like a punishing bait spell where teams overcommit into Reincarnation and then get wiped. So I'd put that under the banner as well. Yeah. So that, yeah. I don't know what else there is to draw from that, maybe away from hero picks, other than like obvious ones, which is, you know, if you're going to try and go on one of these heroes, you need to execute better. And I don't really know what to advise beyond the classic new meta, use your brain. Active thinking, which was just a weird code word we invented that meant play better Dota.
I think you touched on what I think is really key point to winning any game where you're above the average, or I think you're better than this game and therefore should win it more than 50%, climb MMR, etc. Is the punishing mistakes point. And I think it's a fair point about Sniper. You could punish mistakes pretty easily when people dive or overly aggressive, that kind of thing, yeah. But fundamentally, punishing mistakes is how I think that Smurf would be winning games. And it's not purely, okay, they're really good at farming, they get loads of gold and win. I think it's more, yeah, they're really good at farming, they've got more gold and XP than everyone in the game, but they always make sure that that's translated into little incremental advantages throughout the game, be it kills or be it objectives to a lesser extent, but like incremental kill, like if you see a pro team slay or you see an individual in your team slay, they're not 0-0-0 until 20. I mean, they're ticking up a kill here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there. And by doing so, that's creating the space for the team, that's enabling the objectives to be taken, that's enabling them to snowball more, it's enabling your team to snowball more. So, and that incremental snowball comes most often to me, particularly having experience playing lower average games, because of enemy mistakes, rather than, I'm going to do something really witty, like wise and wow, great play. Often it's really, that hero's out of position, that's a freebie, I'll take it. That kind of thing. I think pro teams, or not pro teams, but like pro players, when you see them outclass people, I feel like it's more like that. So when we talk about, what do we say, like active gameplay or something, I can't remember what.
Active thinking back in the day.
Active thinking, I think
use your brain.
Use your fucking brain. I think you can break it down to an even more tangible term of playing Dota in a way where you minimize mistakes. I feel like we said it before, but playing, I guess it's conservative. Like, do I know for sure that this smoke into the woods is going to get me a rampage? Nah, probably not. Let's not do it. Do I know something more obvious, like shoving this creep wave or supporting this hero else? Okay, do those more sure, steadfast plays where you're minimizing your own mistakes, because then you're going to maximize the chance you punish the enemy's mistakes. Because everyone makes mistakes. No one's winning TI. All Dota is mistakes. Who makes the least mistakes and who capitalizes the most mistakes is the winner.
Well, there you have it. Don't make mistakes. If you've got a massively farmed Deucer and you're playing Dawn 3, don't just fly down lanes because you might die. Instead, play around your raid boss Deucer that's going to carry you at the end. I think that's what we've learned today.
Yes, so I actively think it. If I do this warding mission, am I going to get any value out of it, and am I not going to die? Most of the time, you're probably going to get no value, and you're probably going to die. Alright, what about if I went and shoved that creep wave? Probably sounds good, like as a core. What about if I farm Ancients as a pos 3 Centaur? That's probably a bad play. That's probably a mistake. Enemy are dead. Let's hit my neutral camps. Probably a mistake. Think about mistakes.
We need to do like a new meta, like 2 bullet points, how to win Dota for each position. Like pos 1, hit creeps, don't die. Pos 5, use spells,
don't die.
Don't die.
Yeah, don't die is going to be a theme.
No, I feel like don't die. You cannot,
because that epitomizes don't make mistakes. If you're dying, 99% of the time you made a mistake.
Don't die should be the second one of all 5 positions.
I think. Yeah.
I think maybe pos 1 is
don't die. Place wards, don't die.
Pos 1's is like don't die first, whereas everyone else is don't die second.
No, pos 1 is just don't die is the first bullet point and the second bullet point. And then the other positions it's like don't die, but they've got a slightly different, initial bullet point.
Can I put for the pos 3? Because I mean, with the pos 3 you're going to accept you're going to die a bit, but don't feed maybe is better than don't die, and then don't hit Ancients.
On pos 3? Don't hit Ancients.
That's 1,000 MMR. If anyone who's Arkham right now and wants to get MMR, ban yourself from hitting an Ancient and you will climb. There's just no... That's a free MMR right there.
Yeah. I thought Ancients is the one neutral camp you're allowed to hit.
As a pos 3?
Well, it depends on the 3. I'm not saying you're going to smash an Ancient camp.
Centaur takes Ancients fast to retaliate.
If fast is 30 seconds to you, then we're playing in different games.
What if it's like a 5 stack?
Okay, that's more
efficient.
That's a different kettle of fish. If it's a 5 stack, fine, you can take it as a pos 3. But if it's a 1 stack of Ancients and you're not killing it in less than 8 seconds, fucking abandon right now.
Do you remember the Bat Rider meta where you like quad
Yes.
5x stacked of the Ancients and then farmed it with like 10 stacks of Napalm. That was good times. That was a fun one.
I mean, POS 4 and 5, are they the same?
No, they're slightly different. I think POS 5 you take out the don't die. Or the don't die is like in brackets.
I think POS 5 is so complex and beautiful that you need more than 2 bullet points.
It should be.
I don't think it is.
Spells,
are you kidding me?
place words.
Yeah, vision is massive, man. Vision is important eventually. Maybe not your games, but there's a point when it matters.
I think POS 5... I honestly think POS 5, my 2 lines would be use spells in the lane and then use stuns later on. That's literally what my lines would be.
That's just the same bullet point.
Alright, fine. Use spells, and then the second one, look out for your carry. And then the underlining
secure
that.
your carry's lane.
Yeah.
Use spells.
That's very
win
reasonable.
the vision game. Don't die.
Buy 4-star.
POS 5 has the most because it's the hardest.
Oh, it is.
And then position 1 just has don't die.
Position one is don't die. That is.
I
think
BKB. If we're giving POS 1 don't die, then I'll give POS 5 use spells. I honestly think if you pick Jakiro and you use spells, I actually think you can't lose the game.
Yeah, my point to that is that it comes a level where the vision is
vision is massive.
Is so important.
Yeah,
but
vision
you're right.
Vision is it's shared out more than it used to be. I feel like vision also is like very POS 4-y as well at the moment. What's the POS 4 lines? Don't become a pudge specialist, and then don't die.
Nah, to me, POS 4, I would happily just leave it 1 bullet point, use spells, because that's the whole purpose, is to cast spells and make things happen, be it skirmishes. I mean, they have no other purpose.
Yeah, I say so.
Spell casting.
I honestly think 4 is such a bait. I would say 4, use spells and pick a POS 4. That would be my 2 lines. Don't pick
POS 4. Pick a POS 4.
I actually think that's reasonable. As opposed to like picking a sniper or something.
I had a POS 4 quap in a game, in a ranked loss like today maybe. Went Dagon first item. Ooh.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Pick a POS 4.
Didn't win that one.
Yeah. POS 2 is kind of tough. I don't even know what to do for that.
POS 2. I think maybe like don't forget about farming, or don't forget about gold, and then create, and then maybe pressure the map, or
I would say maybe like use your XP.
Yeah, realize your XP.
POS 2 is just the hardest position. We don't even know where to go.
POS 2 snoozy.
The true gamer.
POS 2 snoozy.
A point about POS 5, so, I mean, after getting a lot of wins off Jakiro, I'm at a POS 5, just like, devotee now. I spend 95% of my game looking at the minimap. And there was one moment in this 40-minute Jakiro game I had where, bit of downtime, I stack a camp and I farm it, and so I look at the camp as I farm it, and I swear to God, I was consciously thinking to myself, whoa, this feels weird to like look at my hero and look at the map that's not mini. Honestly, I was like, that is how much had been stirring at the minimap, because it's all about positioning and vision, and the minimap tells me where everyone is, where the enemy is or might be, and what vision do we have, obs, sentries. But then also, I guess like the other corner is buying your sentries and wards constantly. But yeah, just fixated on the minimap to make sure I'm in the right place and blah-de-blah, vision. Honestly, that is what you stir at as a POS 5. I find POS 5 pretty intense with the amount of, like, it's funny, but it's you can do a lot as a POS 5. And
you can definitely do a lot, that's for sure. You can do a lot. It's good fun.
Yeah, it actually is when it's... Yeah.
Also, they're quite varied as well. Like the spells, all the POS 5s obviously have spells with very high impact. But the difference between playing a Jakiro versus playing an Undying versus playing an Omni Knight versus playing a Warlock, all you're doing on all those heroes is making sure your spells have as high impact as possible, but like actually how you do that is kind of different. I mean, you can say that about any position, but I feel like because all of your gameplay is using spells in terms of the skirmishing and just what you're doing, the gameplay is kind of a bit more varied than if you're just playing a carry and you are just hitting neutrals and lane creeps, no matter what your hero is. For 80% of the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, well, there you go. That's episode 186 of New Meta Podcast. We'll be back again at an undisclosed time in the future. And until then, have a final whistle.